And we are live. Welcome, Mystery and Thriller Maven fans. I'm your on-air host, Sarah DeVello, and I am so excited to welcome tonight Erica Ferencik, New York Times Editor's Book Choice, LA Times Best Crime Book of the Year, author of Girl in Ice, here to give us the inside scoop. Erica, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this girl.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be here. I've been on, tenterhooks all day thinking about it. So Girl in Ice is about an American linguist named Val, who is tasked to go to a remote climate research center off the coast of Greenland where a girl has been found in a glacier. She's thawed out alive, speaking a language no one understands. Now, 8 months before the novel begins, Val's twin brother, Andy, who was a climate research scientist up in this very remote place, walks out 50 degrees below zero and freezes to death. So Val is not sure if he took his life or if there was foul play. So when Al gets this email from the head researcher up there talking about this girl, she's really torn because she has her own issues. She has a severe anxiety disorder. She's only comfortable in a few places. But in the email is a clip of the girl speaking. And so when she plays that, she doesn't understand a word the girl says, but she hears fear, she hears trauma, and it's as if she has no choice. She has to go up there and find out what's going on. Who is this girl? What is she saying? What does she want? What happened to her? And also what happened to her brother? So it's a twin mystery, thriller, suspense thing going on.
There is a lot going on, and I cannot wait to get into every single delicious detail of it because I have a lot of questions and a slight twin obsession. So I always wished I was a twin. I thought I was a twin until I was
have twin envy.
I had serious twin envy. But first, I just want to welcome everyone who's watching on Facebook, on YouTube. We are streaming live to 6 different destinations. So no matter where you're watching from, you are in the right place. This is the right time. If you've been here before, you know how it works. And if you're new, we're so happy you're here. Welcome, friends. Here's how it works. Every Monday for #Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Erica about her research. A girl falling from the ice? Who could think of that? A magical made-up language? What? I got a lot of questions, and I know you do too. So get them going in the comments. This is your turn, your chance to ask this author anything you want. Welcome Anne, welcome Lynn, welcome Sherry, welcome Anneli, welcome Cindy, welcome Anissa. So great to have you all. Anissa says, hello, Sarah and Erica. I can't wait to hear about this book. She loves the cover. Okay, let's start with the cover because we're going to start from the outside and work our way in. So for those of you who don't know, this cover, it has texture. It has bumps. Right. Icy little bumps. Erica, tell us the story of this cover. Did you get to be part of the cover creation process?
I didn't have much to do with it, honestly. They showed me some designs, and I kind of went for the one I love the most. What
were the ones you didn't love? What do you remember what those look like?
Too abstract. I kind of knew what they were referring to because I wrote the book, but I think they would have been, this adds the human element, and it could be, you see this person, she could be the girl in ice, or she could be Val, the grown-up, researcher, because Val is in her own sort of psychic ice that she emotionally needs to break through in order to have her sort of Helen Keller moment with this girl, trying to understand what she's saying. Because this girl, as much as Val is a professional linguist, unless someone wants to talk to you, there's no way you're going to communicate with them. And this girl didn't trust Val at first. Can you imagine waking up and not recognizing who is around you? You're a little kid. You don't recognize what clothes you're on. You don't know where you are. So yeah, the kid was traumatized. And so that was part of Val's thing that she had to do. She had to find out what this girl was saying, and quickly, because the girl was dying, and she needed to know what this girl knew in order to save her. So there's that.
Anissa, thank you for commenting on this gorgeous cover. And Anissa is an amazing bookstagrammer, book reviewer, does a lot with friends in fiction. Last seen Instagramming live with Jenna Bush Hagar. She's a big deal. So Anissa, you, I believe, had posted, I saw on Facebook, that this was one of your March reads. So let us know what you enjoyed about this book in the comments. Anissa always has really great comments. So meanwhile, let's talk about what you just said. So this researcher, Val, in Boston, Massachusetts at Harvard, Cambridge, Massachusetts, I guess, is herself frozen in fears. She battles an anxiety disorder, hashtag relatable. I also have anxiety.
Hashtag relatable as well.
And she's terrified of flying. I'm also terrified of flying. I'm terrified of dying in a fiery crash. So for her to get on an airplane to go to Iceland, into this remote place, which is many, many flights, and there's only like one flight a week, and she has to get on an army vessel, carrier plane to get there. It's not like you could just hop the Delta shuttle to LaGuardia.
No.
And it's traumatic, but she digs deep. So let's start there. What was your research process into her anxiety? What that was like? Is that something you've always struggled with, or did you have to research it? And what was your research process into the linguistics part?
So anxiety, I think we're all anxious pretty much. I mean, if you're not, good for you. But at some level, I did speak to a couple of different psychiatrists about the level of disorder that I wanted her to have, because she needed to be able to get on the plane. I didn't want to make her agoraphobic. She had to get on the plane, but and go to this remote location. And also, there were all kinds of challenges when she got there. I mean, she's in this place where the environment is hostile beyond belief, and she is locked in there, and she, you have one windstorm and you can't get out for a week. So she's up there with this climate research scientist, Wyatt, who may or may not have killed her brother. She's with this thought out girl trying to understand what she's saying. There's a very weird sort of grunt mechanic older woman who is also kind of a suspect. So we don't really know what's going to happen. Linguistics, I spoke to several linguists. In order to come up with her language, in order to come up with Sigrid's language, the thawed girl, I listened to every Nordic language I could. I listened to Greenlandic, Icelandic, Finnish, Norwegian, Danish, to get the feel of the morphemes or the units of meaning. And I was trying to create a language that sounded Nordic, but didn't exist. So as you're hearing it, you feel like you're recognizing it, but you're not, because it's a made-up language. And she uses, words very sparingly, and there is a revelation as to the very interesting difference and unique difference that the way her language is spoken. And that's part of the story that I'm told is a spoiler, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But
yeah, because I was wondering, I think I'm not that familiar with Nordic languages, so I was trying to picture how Sigrid's language sounded in my ear. I would even read it out loud to myself and try to make like little, noises, like, because it doesn't sound like anything that it's not French, it's not Spanish, it's not Italian, it's not even Russian. It's
not Russian.
No, it's a very different, not just different array of sounds, but the way that this language it later evolves is they describe all of their feelings before they say the thing, which I also thought was really, really fascinating. What made you think of that? So at the end, when Val is sort of able to communicate with Sigrid, it's like, scared, night, stars falling, and then you say the thing. I was like, my brain was like, oh my God, I've never thought of communicating this way. What made you think of that?
I feel like I wanted to make it sort of primal. I wanted the language to be, I think ideally, as human beings, as we're trying to communicate to each other, I think how we feel is more important than actually the thing. In many cases, if you've got a car coming at you, yeah, that content's really important. But
run,
yeah,
move,
run. I mean, you don't have to say I'm scared, but I'm saying, but in most cases, it's we want to understand how the person feels, and the person wants to tell us how they feel. And so many times in language, we're hiding how we feel because we have.
What do you mean by that?
Well, dialogue is an exchange of human wants and needs. You're saying something to me because you want something. I'm saying something to you because I want something. And it just goes back and forth like that. I mean, that's the only reason we speak to each other. I need something from you, you need something from me. And it doesn't always serve me to tell you exactly what I want. I might be, just
interesting.
Have a hidden agenda. We all have hidden agendas. I don't know why. We all have hidden agendas. And we may or may not have a past with someone. So I mean, you know what it's like when you with your partner, maybe perhaps you want him or her to do something, but the thing that you shouldn't say that triggers them, but a way to get them to do it.
So I have not figured out the way to get them to do it.
That's
I know that I want my husband to do the dishes. I do not know what to say to get him to do them except do the dishes, Momo.
Yeah, Momo, yeah. But also, once one person pointed out, I thought it was amazing. She said, well, that's what emojis do.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm saying, like, I could text you, right? And I might even not say a word, and I just send you a bunch of emojis, and I'm telling you how I feel.
Oh, interesting.
I'm telling you how I feel before I tell you what I think or what happened or something.
So we're actually regressing back
to the ancient language.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I wanted to put that in there, and I did go to Greenland to do the research. I spent a month there. I was lucky enough to do it in 2019, before the world kind of blew up, So it was. I mean, you can read about a place and Google a place. But
so when you went there for a month, did you have to take the carrier aircraft without the seats and strap yourself into a bench bed? Like what?
No, that was part of the story. In the story, Val takes a military plane to Thule, and then takes another plane from there. I mean, no, I went with a tour, a very, very small tour group. I mean, just other people from around the world. There were 6 of us. And we flew to Reykjavik, Iceland, and then flew from Reykjavik, Iceland to Kulusuk, which is on the west coast of Greenland.
Mm-hmm.
And we took a helicopter and a small boat way, 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 way up a fjord. And we.
And what's a fjord for people?
I'm sorry, a fjord is.
Which I do not know.
It's just an inlet. But it's a very long, narrow inlet. And Greenland is the largest island in the world. It's a third the size of Canada. The ice sheet is second only to Antarctica's. It's 1,500 miles north to south, 700 miles east to west, 2 miles deep at its deepest. And there are rivers miles wide, a mile down in the ice. And just
a running river?
A running river, yes.
How can that be? How come it doesn't freeze?
Because I don't know why technically, but there are just temperature differentials all over the place. But just to witness, an iceberg for the first time, especially these massive, massive ones, from the perspective of we were in kayaks, and we were kayaking in this place called the Iceberg Graveyard, and so named because the ocean currents wash these massive, I mean, they're 10 stories tall, they're blocks long, and they're carved by wind and waves. And they're very dangerous. Iceberg
Wow.
Graveyard.
Wow.
And all the time you're hearing like explosions and muffled gunshots, and those are the ice breaking. And I asked our guide, like, what do we do if one of these monsters breaks, And he said, just turn your kayak toward the sound, because a massive wave will be created. And if it hits you sideways, you will go into the water.
But you will not go into the water if you are facing it?
Less likely.
Wow.
Less likely if you turn your kayak toward, the nose of your kayak toward the sound, because the water. He didn't say you're going to live. He said just turn your kayak toward the sound.
Survival was not promised.
Survival was not promised at all. I mean, we were wearing these suits that actually had flotation devices sewn in. So these massive, Mustang suits. But but I mean, the book is just a work of all my favorite fascinations: Arctic setting, thriller, suspense. It's almost like a closed door mystery, because they're
locked room.
A locked room. Thank you. I couldn't think closed, locked. Like they're in this climate research center, which is incredibly claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And with this girl who is trying to tell them something, and
desperately trying. Yeah. Wow. What a crazy, crazy cool idea. Melissa Watson joining us from Australia. Saying, hello, I made it.
You made it. What time is it there? It's tomorrow afternoon or something.
It would be 10:17 a.m. tomorrow in the Brisbane side of Australia. I'm not in Perth. It is 8 a.m. tomorrow. There are 12-hour difference. Melissa, I think you're on the Brisbane side of things. Anyway, so mystery and thriller mavens in the group, I let people submit questions in advance, and Melissa was worried. You posted last night that you weren't sure you'd be able to make it, so you submitted a question in advance for Erica. So yay, you made it. So why don't you go ahead and ask Erica your question? We're so happy to have you here. So go ahead and type that in the comments, and we'll get that right over to her. Meanwhile, she's saying she totally agrees about emojis conveying how we feel. I guess I better step up my emoji game, y'all. Nikki Miracle, welcome to the conversation. Nikki's an amazing Bookstagrammer, book reviewer, and she said, "What a great book! I enjoyed it so much."
Thank you.
And Melissa,
what a great name!
I know, so it is a great name. So Nikki is in Mystery and Thriller Mavens, and we're also both moderators for Bitchy Bookworms, the biggest, best, fabulous book club, book group on Facebook. And I actually asked her, I said, Nikki, is that your real name? Because it sounds like that's her star name, like her celebrity name.
Yeah.
She was like, no, like that's my real name. If my name was Miracle, I'd keep it too.
I would keep it, absolutely.
Oh, I would not be marrying out of that, changing it in it. I'd be like, no, I'm a Miracle.
I wouldn't even hyphenate.
No, you stick with Miracle. Melissa saying Erica is so interesting, and it transfers into all of her books. Yay, Melissa, thank you for the comment. And she's clarifying that she's in Sydney. Okay, perfect. So you're in
Sydney.
Okay. Same time zone. Excellent. So Erica, you have been a New York Times editor's book pick. Congratulations on that, as well as the LA Times Best Crime Novels of Winter 22, as well as Reader's Digest's Best Fiction Books of 2022. And I could go on, and I will go on and on, but let's pause there. Were you surprised when this book started getting that kind of feedback, or were you like, oh, this is kind of a different book, it's resonating, hooray? Or were you like, yes, I knew this would resonate? Walk us through that moment.
Every time anything wonderful happens, I get chills up and down my spine, because I just know how coveted it is to get this kind of lovely recognition. I mean, I really feel like when I was writing it, that I was just putting my all my loves into it. The Arctic setting, a love of language and science, I love writing also on sort of the edge of what is real and what is not. So as you're reading, you're like, well, that could be, right? That could be, for example, there are ice eels. I made up ice
What's
eels.
an ice eel?
It's something I made up.
Okay.
Right, but it's in the book. Ice winds.
Okay.
I made those up. However, ice winds are related to pitaracs, which do exist. Pitaracs are katabatic winds, like Santa Ana winds, very severe winds. But when they're on glaciers, they are incredibly fast, incredibly cold. No one lives on glaciers, so we don't have that experience. But so anyway, I just took these concepts a little bit farther to, kind of.
But speaking of writing on the edge of what is real and what is not, someone might say a girl falls from the ice, not real, not possible. Okay. And yet that is based on your witnessing in Greenland, that some creatures, live animals, actually do freeze in an ice cube, in an ice pond, an iced over body of water that would kill most animals. They freeze, then they thaw, and they somehow live through it.
And they live.
Walk us through that moment.
Yeah, I was walking behind my house. I live in the northeast of United States, and I was walking, and there was a pond, and it was frozen. And along the edge of the pond, there were 3 juvenile painted turtles, and they were frozen mid-stroke, right? And their eyes were open, and they were like this, and they didn't look alive, but they didn't look dead. So I ran home and I Googled it, and I was like, oh my God, there are creatures like painted turtles, like certain wood frogs, some alligators freeze solid and are able to thaw out alive. I'm not talking a state of torpor. I'm talking, so I learned that these creatures, and there's also, they have taken ice cores from 10,000 years ago, and there has been lichen in them, the sort of plant, and they've taken it out, put it under a heat lamp, and boom, it sprouts, it's green, it's growing. But back to humans, or back to, mammals, or, other creatures, these creatures that I've talked about, they possess a certain cryoprotein that protects the cells, because when they freeze, because think about it, cells are mostly water, we're mostly water. So when a cell freezes, it's like an ice cube, it gets sharp, it breaks through the cell. And so we would be destroyed if we were frozen, and that would certainly not work for us. We don't create cryoproteins in our body. However, we can freeze an embryo. An embryo is 120 cells. So we're on our way. That's what I mean by right. I was like, well, we're not quite there yet. And we all know that certain rich folks have frozen them, cryogenics.
Actually, Walt Disney froze himself.
Did he do that?
Walt Disney froze himself because when he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and there was no cure for that at that time. And so I mean, maybe this is a wild rumor, but I remember being
no, I feel like I remember that too.
He was like, freeze me and thaw me out when you have a cure. It's fascinating. Wait, so when you saw the turtles so they were frozen in a block of ice in nature.
Well, they were along the edge of the pond, which was frozen solid. They looked like they were on their way to do something, and they would just boom,
just mid-stroke.
They're like, hello. And I was like,
but what made you think they were still alive?
Their eyes were open.
But they could be, I always see on the top shows, they could be closing the corpse's eyes. Like,
I guess the fact that I didn't go back and check and see if they thaw up. But I
turtle CPR.
I just ran home and I was like, what animals? You can Google it now. Now, what animals can freeze and thaw out alive? Wood frogs. When you hear now, I don't know where you live, but it's springtime. We hear peepers, right? Peepers. You also hear another sound. It's like a crackling sound. Those are wood frogs thawing out alive. I'm not making this up. I mean, that sounds crazy, right? But I mean, there are wonders on this earth that are
Wow.
just wonderful and just remain a mystery to us. I mean, I think we all need a sense of mystery. We don't know everything,
Mm,
and that's a good thing.
mm,
That keeps
mm.
the human brain happy.
I love that. I
A
love
sense
that.
of wonder. We're desperate for
Ooh.
that.
Well, speaking of wonder, the Sarah Lyall, or I'm not sure if it's Lyall or Lyle,
Yeah, I don't know either.
thank you, from the
Yeah.
New York Times,
Yeah.
raved hauntingly beautiful.
Oh.
Girl in Ice uses the subtleties of translation to draw us into different worlds and ways of thinking. So, first of all, for the New York Times to call your book hauntingly beautiful, file that under G for goals met. Right? Like you should be on a beach having bonbons somewhere and being
Talking
fancy.
about names, I'm going to change my name to Erica Hauntingly Beautiful Ferencik.
Miracle.
Miracle.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I
Yes.
mean, yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's an incredible review. So let's talk about it. Oh, thank you for all the hearts up. You're getting bursts of hearts on
Burst
Facebook.
of hearts.
Thank you all for those beautiful
See
hearts.
emojis. Hello.
Oh my God, you're right. Oh my God, we're getting love. I get it now.
Yeah.
So when you were crafting this hauntingly beautiful prose, what's that look like for you, Erica? Do you sit down and sort of close your eyes and channel the muse, and the
boy.
hauntingly beautiful prose flows through you? Or
So now you're gonna know what a freak I am. So
we're leaning in for the freak.
we're
please.
leaning in for the freak.
Yeah.
So I work in a shed, not a she shed. Don't say she shed. It's a rehab shed. Okay, so it doesn't
Like
have
an actual kidnap mobile kind of shit.
it doesn't have a lawnmower in it anymore or any of that stuff, but it is, it's not fancy. It's a shed with a window. And when I write, I literally kind of trance out and go to the place in my mind, and it really helps that I went there. Now that said, I didn't, go to Greenland and think of the story. The story comes first for me always, because no one cares where I went. They want a great book. You want a great read, right? But many of my books, the setting is so important. And if I can get a better handle on that by going there, I will go there. I did that for Into the Jungle. I spent a month in the Peruvian Amazon, scared the crap out of myself, doing that research. And similarly, spent 3 weeks in the Allagash territory of northern Maine for the River at Night, interviewing people who live off the grid, aka single men, who are, kind of, I vetted them because, I don't want to die. And
Yeah, because you don't want to go into rural Maine and never. You don't want to be a writer that went to rural Maine for research and never
didn't come back. No, that's But I mean, I just go into a scene and I feel it. I feel it. I hear it. I see it. I smell it. I taste it. And like all writers, when we're trying to create a scene, you have to go into each character's head and feel what they're feeling, see what they're seeing. So I'm almost writing the scene like 6 different times because I have to see it from one character's point of view, another character's point, and so that you can have that. So that I don't use all versions, obviously, but I need to know it as the author what is happening exactly.
So are all the versions hauntingly beautiful, or do they get more?
No, not at all. They're hauntingly crap. Totally. The hauntingly beautiful. My God, that's so nice. Well, I think that reading, I mean, the deep experience of reading is a combination of thinking and feeling. You find, I find when I'm reading a really wonderful book, it stimulates my mind to ask what's going to happen, but also what am I feeling, and because for me, I'm not, I think thrillers are more emotional and mystery is more intellectual, in the sense mystery is like what happened, and
Okay.
thriller is more like there's danger, so there's emotion and dread and so on. Not that there's not emotion and dread and mystery, but thriller is more an emotional experience. the fear of the protagonist. They're being threatened. What's going to happen to them? Is the person going to figure it out before she's killed or so on? But so to give you the long-winded answer, I need to think and I need to feel in order to create something, so that you think and you feel and you have that sense of satisfaction.
Ooh, I'm interested that you said thrillers are more of an emotional experience and mysteries are more of an intellectual experience. When did that differentiation occur for you? When was it crystallized? I've never heard that. I've never thought that. I've never noticed that before. When was that moment for you crystallizing that?
Okay, that's a great question. I guess because I realized I don't write mysteries, because mysteries, mysteries that are just pure mysteries. What happened? Who did it? Who done it? So I don't care who done it personally. It already happened. So it's an intellectual experience to find out what happened. And then it's a procedural often, and you're going into the backstory, what happened, or just to figure out. And a thriller is many thrillers are real time. It's like the audience knows exactly what the protagonist knows. So you're going through the story, and as the protagonist learns more, how much in danger he or she might be, so does you. So do the reader. And it's real time. I just love feeling scared. I love yet safe. You watch a horror movie, you have that rev experience. You're revved up. There's a monster. Someone's in the basement. And you have this sort of, but then it's never happening to you, no matter how many bodies pile up. You've got your kitty and your popcorn, and you're good. You know what I mean?
I have my little cat-sized dog in my popcorn, and I am good.
And you're good.
I'm good. That's interesting because Marcy Ann Cagle, who is the one of the two founders of Bitchy Bookworms, which is the largest, most engaged, most fabulous book group on Facebook with 110,000 members. I was just talking with her. We're streaming live there as well.
Oh, good.
I have a special collaboration with them. Hi, ladies. And Marcy and I were just talking, and she said she likes to feel scared. She likes scary books, which I thought was so fascinating. So I don't like to feel scared. I'm more on the I like to feel safe side, but it's so fascinating to hear you talk about that as well. Really interesting. Oh, Melissa Watson has a question. She said, I haven't read your new book yet, and I look forward to it. And I have a special love for the river at night. Erica, what is it that drives and inspires you to write these exciting, adventurous, and informative books? Melissa, great question.
I think that I had an extremely challenging childhood, and so I'm not going to go into that, but I think a lot of us have had that, but I had an extremely challenging childhood, and so I have a very close affinity to dread, to fight or flight, to the hormones that those are producing. So I don't know if it's repetition compulsion or what my problem is, but I have an ability to an affinity for creating these frightening stories. But I also, they don't end in a Pollyanna way, but they end with hope. They end with some kind of resolution. I have no explanation for why I love exotic environments. I just do. I love, getting out of what we know and just placing a character in an extremely exotic environment. That said, my next book takes place in Oregon, so that's not that exotic, but the story itself is quite crazy.
Melissa, thank you for the great question. Erica, thank you for the insightful answer. Let's go to your Wall Street Journal review. I'm just going to pop it up for a second because it's covering us. But the WSJ said, Girl in Ice is a lot of things: a psychological suspense novel, a linguistic thriller, and a scientific puzzle. Ferencik describes the Arctic topography with a poet's awe, and some of her set pieces The procession of a huge herd of caribou, an Arctic dive gone badly awry are breathtaking, a singular sensation. So what I love about this review, aside from everything, is the fact that they described it as a psychological suspense novel, a linguistic thriller, and a scientific puzzle. Because let's be honest, you ain't seeing that every day, right? Like that's that you're seeing maybe one of those pieces of the pie, but you're not seeing all in one, jambalaya. So when you set out to write this book, were you like, I want to talk about science, I want to talk about climate change, because Val's brother, her twin brother, now dead and possibly murdered by the two people that she's stuck with in this remote, inaccessible, terrifyingly iced in, not going anywhere for the winter months.
You described that so well. That's great.
Because I was anxious picturing myself there, so I remember it viscerally. Even though I read it a couple months ago. The brother clearly battling his own depression and anxiety. But Val's more anxious. He's more depressed, in my experience of it. He's depressed because he's overcome by the woes of the world. He's overcome by the desperation and sort of hopelessness, as he sees it, of climate change. So was that the piece of the scientific puzzle that you wanted to address, that the Wall Street Journal is talking about? Or did you set out to to try to get this all in here, or just
no the scientific puzzle sprung from, who is this girl? How, from what era did she come, and why was it possible to, in her era, thaw out alive? Maybe there's some secret. What is the secret? And so, I mean, there is something called the Little Ice Age that happened around 1400, and it froze up all the waterways in Greenland, so the whales couldn't come in and people starved, and there was a lot of competition for food. So I'll just say that she comes from that period. And so people then, in my way of explaining her, there were these ice winds that came in, would freeze people immediately. So they discovered a way of sort of dosing themselves with a certain something, so that if that happened to them, they could thaw it alive. But there was a lot of competition for that certain something, and I thought that resonated with today. We have climate change happening, and very soon there will be competition for scarcer and scarcer resources. So that was sort of the science thing that was resonating. And I guess I just wanted to, what was the second half of that? Linguistics? No.
The Wall Street, oh my gosh, let me scroll back.
Sorry.
No, totally fine. The Wall Street Journal raved about a psychological suspense novel, a linguistic thriller, and a scientific puzzle.
Yeah, linguistic thriller and scientific puzzle. Oh, I know what I was going to talk about. Just the fact that, so Andy, I don't know about you,
the twin brother,
who was the climate scientist who walked out 50 degrees below zero and froze to death, was depressed. He was very depressed. He didn't want to have children because he just is convinced that human nature will screw us and we will not address climate change and we're all screwed. So that's how he felt, and honestly, that's how lots of people feel, and that's how I feel on my worst days. You know what I'm saying? And I feel that I am never, let's put it this way, I am never injecting current events in my books, because I'm creating entertainment, and I never lose sight of that. There's not so much science in here or linguistics that you're like, oh my God, she's going off about.
Yeah, we're not being lectured to.
I'm not trying to teach you per se. So, I mean, but like 15 years ago, I don't know how much I thought about climate change. But coming into the jungle, there are elements of climate change in that book. And now every other thought for me is climate change and what are we doing, So, as authors, you can't avoid real life.
Right.
That's where the stories come from. The stories come from real life. And the trick is, is incorporating it in such a way and making it part of the story,
in a way that's compelling and makes sense.
In a way that's compelling. No, I could have written a romance novel about climate, or have climate change elements in it.
Right. They could have fallen in love in a windmill. We don't know.
You could fall in love, or it could be a small story about a family on a farm, and they're losing their farm because a certain, insect is multiplying because of climate change killing something. I don't know. That might be the story. So it's not specific to what I did. So.
Excellent. Thank you for that information. We have 4 minutes left. I think I can take 2 more questions, get them going in the comments. Meanwhile, I really want to talk about this review from Booklist, starred review from Booklist, saying the story evokes a palpable sense of foreboding and becomes increasingly ominous as it highlights the power of nature and human emotion. Original, intense, powerful, disturbing, and utterly mesmerizing. This one, which evokes Peter Hoeg's Smilla's sense of snow, will stay with readers long after they finish the book. This did stay with me long after I finished the book. What do you think the secret is to writing a book that stays with people is?
Well, I think because it feels weirdly current, and I think that I made you afraid, and making you afraid is kind of going to your basal ganglia there, and I made you think and I made you feel. I made you think and I made you, and I don't know, you tell me, because not everything is resolved at the end. I mean, there is a sense of completion, but maybe it left you wondering as to, wow, could this happen, or parts of it happen, and what? I don't know. You have to tell me why.
Melissa saying, thank you so much, Erica. It is so fascinating to listen with you. And she said, thank you also for sharing that with us about your childhood. Welcome to the conversation. Charles, welcome. Debbie, making sure I didn't miss anything. Welcome, Deborah. Welcome, Susan. Thank you for being here. Courtney, Gail, Lena. Thank you everybody for being here. So great to have you.
Thank you so much. Oh my
Glenda,
goodness.
Lynn, Donna, Darren, Corte, Margie, Anelli, Cindy, Sherry, Ann, Lynn, and everyone else. Thank you so much for being here. It's so great to have you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. Erica, last question submitted in advance to our Mystery and Thriller Mavens Facebook group. Is there a favorite scene that you have in this book, and why?
I kind of like the scene where it's Nora's birthday, and there's a very tense scene preceding it, but the climate researchers, they say, okay, we're going to take the day off. We're going to drink daiquiris and sit on the roof and throw a football around on the ice cap. But it's also very tense too. But it's yeah, I like that scene. That sort of mix of we're going to take it easy, but then something ominous happens. Comes up from behind,
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah, so enjoyed that.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you for your fabulous questions submitted in advance and submitted in real time. And I want to remind you, the book is out. So grab your copy of Girl in Ice. Grab that ice.
Grab that ice.
Right. Grab that ice. I'm going to write that. It is right here. I'm going to pop it into the comments. So grab that ice from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, and the link is right there. The good folks at Murder by the Book will ship it out to you tomorrow, and you too can be a girl or guy in ice, and we will continue the conversation over on Facebook. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me for Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder. I'll have Samantha Bailey and a mystery ghost next Monday, so be sure to tune in then. Have a good night, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Thanks everyone.
Erica.